My dear friends, today the Universal Church celebrates the solemnity of all the saints. Historically, this practice of honoring the saints started during and after the persecution of the early Christians. Because of the many who were martyred then, it was quite difficult to remember all the dates of their martyrdom. Furthermore, some dates of their death could not be verifiable. Moreover, there were so many of them that their dates exceeded the number of days in the year. The basic question is, why do we celebrate this day? The answer is, why not? Why do we have a victory party after winning a game or after accomplishing something? We do have a victory party because we want to savor that moment. We want to relive the wonderful experience. We want to share the feeling of joy, of completeness, of being rewarded. With these same reasons and more, we are celebrating this special day in our life as Christians or as followers of Jesus Christ. Through our reasoning, we may ask, how can we savor the moment when we haven't experienced what the saints had experienced in heaven with God? The question is true, but through the witness of the saints, our faith tells us that there is something greater. There is something beautiful and rewarding experience that God has prepared for us. Our reading for this special day reminds us of the great things that awaits us if we go on walking on the right track, heading on to God. The first reading on the book of Revelation tells on us of the wonderful mixture of nations, races, countries, colors, language, all together as one in worshiping God in heavenly celebration. In our second reading, St. John reminds us that we can't exactly tell or know what really would become of us in heaven. But all we know is that we will see God as He is. It isn't an exciting wait to see God not only through our needy brothers and sisters, not only through the wonderful works of creation, but as He really is. I am looking forward to that moment. We can get to that moment if and when we leave out our calling, that is to become saints. Yes, we are all called to be saints. We are all called to share in the life of God forever in heaven. And our journey in this life is towards that, leads to the purpose to be saints of God forever. This is the reason of our hope. Jesus in our gospel today has outlined for us the Beatitudes, which means the blessedness, or what can be called our guidelines as we look forward to the end of everything that we hope for. So the Beatitudes is the sum and summary of the whole gospel. We can see the Beatitudes in the very life of Jesus. we can also see that the saints really lived out the Beatitudes in their lives, whoever they were, whatever they did, and whatever time they lived in. So, what can we do then? First of all, keep heaven in our sight always. This can be happen. Read, reflect, ponder, and leave out the Beatitudes or the true meaning of Beatitudes in our day-to-day lives. Saint Mother Teresa said, "We all long for heaven where God is, but we have it in our power to be in heaven with Him right now, to be happy with Him at this very moment. But being happy with Him now means loving as He loves, helping us as He helps, giving as He gives, serving as He serves, rescuing as He rescues, being with Him for all the 24 hours, touching Him in His distressing distress." Secondly, stand up for Christ as the saints did. In terms of a game, we would say aim for the trophy and for the victory. If the players had to work hard in training to get that trophy, so are we. Standing up for Christ is indeed very hard and challenging, especially now in our time and days. At times, we may find that Jesus, who not only comforts the afflicted, but also afflicts the comfortable. Yet we must not be afraid to stand up for Him, because even if we are standing alone, we know that we are standing on the right ground. Even if our knees are trembling, we know that we are standing in the firm and solid ground. So as we continue our celebration today, we ask God that, like the saints in heaven, He would draw our hearts always to heavenly things by making us closer to His Son, whose life, death, and resurrection becomes the life of the saints. St. John Maria Vianney said, "The saints did not all begin well, but they all ended well." Saints are honored not because they did great things, but because the smallest things in an extraordinary manner. According to St. Chrysostom, a saintly figure is like a mirror, which will behold our blemishes and disfigures of our soul. Today, as we look at the saints, whom we like the most are like mirrors, who try to remove our blemishes and renew our souls. Pope Francis says, to be saints is not a privilege for the few, but a vocation for everyone. So let us pray. Good and gracious God, teach us to take your Son's beatitudes to our heart, so that in letting go of those things that bind our hearts and minds, we may experience something of the joy and wonder now being experienced by all saints in heaven.